More classified documents were discovered at President Joe Biden's Delaware home last week. In a statement on Saturday, the president's personal attorney revealed that FBI agents spent more than 13 hours at the Biden's Wilmington residence on Friday, and their search turned up, quote, 6 items consisting of documents with classification markings. Like the documents previously found, Biden's legal team says the newly discovered files were from his time as vice president. But his attorney also says the new batch included some documents from Biden's time in the Senate, where he served from 1973 to 2009. A Biden administration official and a separate source familiar with the matter tells NBC News that the latest search was prompted by the White House, not the Department of Justice. It's unclear if the new documents were found in the same location as previously unearthed files, which were discovered in a room adjacent to Biden's garage.
So, again, let's go ahead and just say what we always say, much different than the Trump documents where they had to go in and they had to fight them, negotiate, finally get in. Trump lied, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. George Conway put it this way, kind of funny. I don't understand why the Biden people are voluntarily giving access to investigators instead of stonewalling and lying and screaming witch hunt and calling the investigators Gestapo and bringing frivolous lawsuits against them. And let me just add also, and making sure that they leak the names of the people that did those investigations to put their lives at risk, to make them targets of abuse.
We're going to have Ian Sams on the show from the White House to talk more about this. But it clearly looks like Joe Biden said, you know what, I'm going to have everybody go through everything I have and make sure there is no more question of what there is. Well, he was in the Senate for decades. I got to say, I'm not making any excuses. This is just not good. But
I got to say, Jonathan Lemire, yeah, it's completely different. Completely different from the Trump document case, and we can list all the ways. At the same time, come on, man. Senate documents?
Come on,
Are you kidding me? Senate documents? And they keep finding documents. Like, this is, you know... But because you're not supposed to take classified documents out of buildings, as we have said repeatedly on this program, and it just keeps going. They're going to open up a bathroom and find that it's wallpapered with classified. I mean, come on, man. How much longer is this drip, and go? And one thing I would say, up to this point, the same thing. It's going to be political fallout. There's not going to be legal fallout. I do, though, start wondering what Dick Durbin, the head of the Judiciary Committee, knows when Dick Durbin starts talking about how serious this is and how diminished Joe Biden is by what has been discovered. Does that suggest, Jonathan Lemire? What do we have this clip?
Let's play Dick Durbin's soundbite.
We have senior Democratic senators, allies of Joe Biden, actually speaking out. Take a listen.
To think that any of them ended up in boxes in storage one place or the other is just unacceptable. But having said that, let me make this point clear. Joe Biden has said from the start, we are going to be totally transparent about this. Let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to open my home voluntarily to a search.
It's unbelievable how this could happen. It's totally irresponsible, and who's at fault? But with that being said, putting it in a political kangaroo court's not going to help.
Yeah, he said it was unacceptable at the top. But again, I agree with the gentleman. But this drip, it just keeps going, Jonathan.
Yeah, this is certainly more of a political problem than a legal one. That's established. And we should say one more thing, that when federal agents searched Mar-a-Lago, they did so with a search warrant because the Trump folks would not give them access. That's very different here in Wilmington. That said, this has now been twice in a week, where the White House says the search is complete, there are no more documents. And after each time, more documents turned up. That's just not a good look. And there's real frustration from Democrats about how this is handled. I mean, it's one thing for Joe Manchin, who does break with the president from time to time and is sort of playing to his constituency in West Virginia at moments. Dick Durbin's another story. He didn't just call it unacceptable. He used the word embarrassed. He said the president should be embarrassed as to what is happening right here. And I think there's a lot of Democrats who start to feel that as well, that they can't get their arms around this story because they don't know when it ends, because it feels like every day or every few days they turn up a handful of more documents. Now, the big question is, what are the contents of these documents? The ones from the Senate, very dated. There are real questions as to how they got to his home, but there's odds are not material in there that would be particularly damaging. So that is going to be still to be discovered in the weeks ahead. But certainly, Joe, this is just giving more ammo to the Republicans who now have control of the House, who have these investigations, who already had a laundry list of things they wanted to go through, and now classified documents are at the top of the list. And it's just going to get really messy for this White House.
So Mike, Dick Durbin, who has known Joe Biden obviously for a very long time and has been a great political ally of his, says the document controversy leaves him, quote, diminished, and that the president should be embarrassed. Put this in perspective. What is this, Mike? How do we keep finding documents now, even from Biden's Senate days?
Well, I think the president is embarrassed. That's an almost certainty, given the president of the United States and given how he reacts to things like this. Look, these things were packed up in 2016, late 2016. The stuff from the Senate would more likely than not even be classified today, I would bet. We're not going to really get to the bottom of this until there's much more information on exactly how many pieces of classified information are we talking about. What are the dates of the classified information? What's within the classified information? What do they have to do with? And we're not going to find that out until there's a full release and full information given to us. And they're going to have to do that in order to... Jonathan just pointed out, this is not going to be a legal issue. That's almost guaranteed. It's going to be a huge political issue, an ongoing political issue, fuel for the fire among the Republican now majority in the House of Representatives and the various committees that are going to be investigating things like this.
But let's be clear, Jonathan Lemire, this is not Hunter Biden's laptop. It's not one of those issues where Republicans sit and this is not the Twitter wars, right? The Twitter documents, the Twitter files. This is not some sort of esoteric issue that Republicans are talking about. This is something now that Democrats are talking about. I bring this up only because there's a reason why Dick Durbin is saying what Dick Durbin's saying, because Dick Durbin's seen classified documents too. Chances are good they probably haven't made it to his Illinois home, as is the case with most members of Congress. So Durbin's sitting there. I know he is. Sitting there going, are you kidding me? Yeah. How hard is it to keep this stuff out of your home?
Yeah, there were senators of both parties over the weekend who said, classified materials like this are usually only viewed in a SCIF, like in the Senate offices. So it shouldn't have found its way to Wilmington at all. And you're right. There's a lot of nonsense the Republicans are throwing up against the wall here as they launch these investigations. But classified documents should be handled appropriately, no matter which party you belong to. And that's just it. They clearly were not. These documents ended up where they shouldn't have been. Now, again, the Biden team is handling it very differently than the Trump team did once these discoveries were made. We can't underscore that enough. And that's why there probably will be legal peril for one and not the other. But it's still a mistake. These documents shouldn't have been there. There are national security issues when it comes with classified materials. We'll learn more about what's the contents going forward. But you're hearing even from Democrats, as you say, even a really good ally like Durbin saying like, hey, enough's enough. We got to get to the bottom of this.
Well, and I think that's refreshing and the right thing. And I'm sure Joe Biden agrees with some of what Dick Durbin had to say. I'm not sure about diminished, especially in the state of American politics today. I think he has a long way to go before he's diminished compared to the Republicans. A little bit of a harsh word. Having said that, the Democrats are defining themselves as honest, intellectually honest, as honest about the difference between right and wrong, while Republicans will literally drive forward over anything as ranging from immoral Stormy Daniels to criminal, possibly January 6th. Well, they will defend anything and go to certain media entities, and you'll get the same thing. You'll get all, glossed over stories about Donald Trump, but Hunter Biden, all these crazy stories about Democrats. Here, You look at it truthfully. It's not good.
You look at it both sides. There's a reason why,
And top-level officials at the White House told me they could not have imagined this happening, and they're pretty horrified.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Meek and I don't get invited to birthday parties of George W. Bush or Barack Obama.
We do. And some people...
or Donald Trump, because you go after both sides. You go after both sides. And, Mike, I've got to say, I just have to finish.
I think a long way to diminishing.
I have to finish with one final thing, Mike, and I think this is important to say because, again, I don't know if you know, I was in Congress at one point.
Oh, God.
Really?
Ding.
Yeah, and people are saying, like, oh, no, he's not going to talk about that. I could talk about being a baseball coach if you'd prefer, but I think it might help to know, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, I was put on the committee 4 times across 4 terms, Mike. And there are briefings that I got on North Korea, on Iran, on China back in 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. I don't even repeat those briefings, even though they're so far out in public. But that's how most people there go. And as far as a classified document, my God, if somebody tried to hand me a classified document going out of a skip, I'd put my hands up in there and let it drop on the floor. You are taught.
We don't know what is.
You are taught. No, this is a cultural thing. It just is. You are taught to treat classified documents in a certain way. And so that's why Durbin is responding the way Durbin's responding, and why a lot of people are shocked by it. And you're just going like this?
No.
It's just as bad.
I agree.
It's just as bad if a Democrat's doing it as a Republican's doing it. Now, listen, you look to intent, and the intent for Donald Trump, obviously far worse. With Joe Biden, based on what we know, it was just sloppy. Yeah. But, man, it was sloppy with America's classified information. And I just don't understand it. And I think that's probably why Dick Durbin was saying what Dick Durbin was saying. Because, again, what is 25 years ago, 24 years ago, I'm still not saying anything about classified briefings I got just because you don't take a chance.
You know,